Thank you very much for taking the time to have a quick look at this video. What I'm going to focus on now is the linear guideway system, which is a recirculating ball guide system. What I've discussed in previous videos is about when to use different rail systems and the fact that different rail systems are suited for different purposes. So for example, for simple applications, the X-rail system, which is quite inexpensive, where you don't have a huge amount of accuracy required, that's a good solution to inexpensive applications. Then if you move up at the next step where you need a good degree of accuracy and you've got quite heavy loads, we're talking about the compact rail system and the benefits of the compact rail system, which were the fact that it relates to a master T rail and a slave U rail system, so that when you're aligning the system to set it up in the first place, the accuracy is taken from the master rail and the U rail is a slave rail. So as the system travels up and down, it doesn't have to be hugely accurately aligned, and the U rail will take up that misalignment. What we're now talking about is a micron-accuracy system, which is a linear guideway system. So in my opinion, this is really only used for people who want, for example, a 25 or 30 micron accuracy over a couple of meters. When you have a system with that sort of accuracy, the degree of machining that you have to put into the structure is quite precise, and that can be quite costly. So that's my one warning about using this system. However, this system does have some big advantages, and it really relates to A, the accuracy, which we talked about, is a micron accuracy, and B, the sort of loads that it can carry. The other thing to mention at this stage is that we carry here at Automotion a huge amount of stock of this part. We tend to have the rails in 3 or 4 meter lengths, and we can chop it, cut it to suit the length required by yourselves. And what we tend to do is we tend to sell the rail in multiples of the pitch. So for example, if that was 120mm pitch, so 120, 240, because this allows us to keep an equidistant end at either end, and it makes the chopping process a lot easier. But if you do require something different, then that's not a problem. So basically the linear guideway system comes in about 3 or 4 different sizes. We're starting with what's quite a small system, which is the size 15mm rail. It goes up to 20, this is the 25 system, then it goes up to 30, 35, this is the 45, and then there's one bigger one than this, which is the size 55. So the size 55 and 45 are really heavy duty systems. So typically the monorail system has the advantages that it can take quite similar radial and axial loads. So normally it will be set up in this plane. So what we've got here is we've got the typical sliders. So we have got a flange slider, and you can see there obviously you've got flange, so you've got a bit more meat to bolt onto whatever fixture plate that you're going to do, or you can have an unplanned, which is a lower profile, sort of a thinner version of it. So those are the main types, the flange and unflange. What you'll tend to find is that for whatever reason at the moment, a lot of our competitors are not able to supply these linear rail systems, and people are coming to us for cross-referencing. And what you'll tend to find is that these products are pretty much standard. So the key things, if you're looking for an alternative, the key things to bear in mind is the height of the product, which is very important, and the hole pitch of the fixing holes, and also the fixing holes on the rails. But they do tend to be standardized, but there'll always be something slightly different. But what you can't do is you can't take another supplier's carriage and put it on an existing rail from a different supplier that you have. So if you want to look an alternative, you've got to really start from scratch. You've got to get the rail and the carriage, because each manufacturer's profile, this profile here, is slightly different. So you can't just take one carriage off and put it onto a different manufacturer's rail. What we often get with customers is who've not used this before, they do need to be aware that when you receive the sliders, they will come packed individually from the rail, and that's basically to prevent damage in transit and any vibration. But the way the carriages come, they come with a little retainer here, and that basically is looking after the balls, because obviously if that wasn't there, the balls could possibly shake loose in transit. So what you need to do is when you mount the carriages to the rail, you take it still with this packaging on it, you offer it up to the rail, you can just about see there, and you slide it on to the rail. You can just see it's quite easy to do. You slide it onto the rail, and there you go, off you go. So the sliders do have different types of preload. So this for example here is a K1 preload, which is sort of a, that means how easy it is to move the slider backwards and forwards. So that's actually quite, it's reasonably stiff, but not hugely stiff. That's a K1 preload. One that's sort of a lighter running is a K0 preload. So normally the K0 and the K1s are the sort of preloads that are being used. So we've talked briefly about how important it is to get this thing aligned, because if you've got, for example, a 3-metre run, you've got a 3-metre run and rail here, you might be spanning across a fixture or a structure and putting another rail there and lining it up in that plane. Over that distance, those things need to be aligned very, very accurately, and if your structure which you're mounting it to is not machined in accordance with that, you will find as you go down there you're going to get this stiction effect, which is really that's actually causing a lot of friction in the system and makes the whole thing judder, especially if you're driving it backwards and forwards as well. So that's where what I talked about on one of the other systems we have, which is the compact rail, that's where it has that advantage, is that it's taking its accuracy from one rail, which is the master-slave rail, and it's letting the other rail offset for any changes in structure accuracy. And also, quite often we've had people who put on linear guideway systems, and then whilst the product, for example, has been transported from A to B, whilst it's got there, the whole structure's moved, and of course you then get that sort of stiction, and the customer saying, well, actually that's not aligned correctly, and you think, well, it's left my place in good condition, but it's obviously got to the other end and something else has happened to it. So I think there's not a huge amount more to be said about linear guideway systems. Basically in there's all these recirculating balls. I mean, you'll see that there is quite a good degree of protection from dirt ingress, but it is not as resistant to dust and dirt as the compact rail system, simply because in there's loads and loads of miniature balls, and if you start getting small articles of dust in there, over a period of time it can actually clog up that carriage, and it will then cause it to seize. But I mean, you can see it is reasonably well protected. The point I made about the compact rail system is, instead of having lots of small linear balls, you have 3 larger balls, and obviously that's going to be a lot less easy to clog up. So whilst we're on the subject of these recirculating ball linear guideways, what we have got here is a very heavy duty linear guideway, but it's the inverse of the profile here. So basically, where this carriage and the balls run outside the linear rail, in this case, which is the SNK case, the balls are running inside the rail. The nice thing about that is it's a little bit more enclosed, can still take very, very heavy loads, and basically we can provide this rail length in anything up to about 2.4 meters, and you can put as many of these carriages in there as you like. To me, I think there's a lot going for that, but I have to say that's not something that we stock. That is more something that would probably take about 10 days to manufacture, because basically it's cut to length and the sliders are set up, preset in there for you. We don't issue the sliders for you to install, because it's actually quite difficult to do. If, however, you want something that is quite heavy duty load, because these are heavy duty rated, but you want something that's inexpensive, so for example you might have a lot of these products that are going to go out, so it might be sort of a more commercial product than a more machine tool product. What we also have is this rail system. It's called the Easy Rail, and it's considerably less expensive, and the benefits, you can also see that it does have the balls in there. This rail can be any length you like. You can have a number of different sliders, but that is a cost-effective alternative to that, which is also quite expensive to set up. So just to clarify, we do hold a lot of linear rail products in stock, If you don't know what you're looking for or you'd like some advice, then please do contact us, and we've got some engineers who can help. We can have a look at some drawings, or we can provide some help over the phone. We can generally cut product to length on the same day, dispatch it on the same day. We also have most of these products CAD files set up, so they'll be in SAT, STEP, SolidWorks, and they'll all be downloadable on the website, quite easy to use. And it just remains for me to say thank you very much for your time, and I hope you found that of interest.